Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today. It's the anime book tag. I was tagged by Ben Sanders. Thank you very much. And it's 12 questions centering around anime, about which I know very little, but the questions don't. Despite the fact that Ben seemed to center his answers on anime, the questions don't seem to call for it, so I'm gonna stray afield. But I thought we'd get right to it. Question number one is Haikyuu, a book with above and beyond a beautiful friendship, and I thought I would shake things up by starting with a YA novel. Goodness gracious. It's this one. It's Let the Sky Fall by Shannon Messenger. That's kind of cool the way those come into focus, isn't it? But it's about a teenage boy who's caught in a Category 5 tornado with his family. They're all lost. He survives and doesn't know how, and it turns out that he survives by virtue of an air sprite, an air elemental, and they of course fall in love, and there are secrets, and there's a chosen one, and there are all the usual cliches of YA fiction, but it's really well done even so. And before they fall in love, they gradually, unevenly, spikily become friends, and I thought it was really well done. Question number two, Bleach, a book series that's way too long and that you never plan to finish. For me, this would be a blast from the past. For some of you, it was a comic book, a graphic novel series called Cerebus the Aardvark by the insufferable Dave Simm. That he started it out, I think, in 1910, and he had the most grandiose plans in the world for it, and said he knew to the day when it would finish, and it would be 100 years from now. And it kept coming out in gorgeous black and white. The artwork got better and better and better, and the writing, I have to say, grudgingly got better and better and better. It became a great social commentary, a great satire on religion, a great satire on comic books. It was, but it just kept going on and on and on, and the in-jokes came to dominate everything, and the payoff came to be so minuscule that eventually I stopped. And the series did come to an end, just as he said it would, in 2004, but I've never gone back to backtrack or to finish it. I've never done it. Maybe I will, because certainly it rewarded me enough when I was reading it to think that maybe that would be worth it. I just I haven't gone back to Cerebus the Aardvark. Question number three, Full Metal Alchemist, a fantasy read that doesn't have a quasi-medieval setting, and that took a minute to think about, because they're so common. It's such a normal thing, and the reason for it is because too many authors of fantasy novels have so little imagination that they think, well, it has to be quasi-medieval, because if it isn't, science will be involved. And if science is involved, then fantasy disappears, like dew and morning sunlight. And that's not true. It's not true at all. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. You don't need Middle-earth. But I did come up with something that I'm happy to recommend anyway at all times, even though the author has made himself odious to all right-thinking people. Even so, it's Orson Scott Card, and the series is something I think I've praised here before. The Tales of Alvin Maker. Oh no, this one's not auto-focusing. Oh, too bad too, because it's a great cover. It's the story of an alternate colonial America. Wait, is it focusing? No. It's the story of an alternate colonial America, in which the people have knacks. They have supernatural knacks, abilities of a prescripted, small menu of kinds. And a boy is born, the seventh son of a seventh son, called Alvin, who is a maker, which even in a world full of knacks is almost mythical. And the books are told, Card tells them in a quasi-Tom Sawyer-esque jargon, and they're wonderful. They get worse as they go along, but the first three are as good as non-medieval fantasy gets. Question number four, Naruto, a middle grade or children's series you think is overrated. Well, of course, my answer would be Harry Potter. And the reason why it's overrated is the reason why half of you are now saying, what? It's not a children's book? I'm majoring in it in college. I'm doing a postdoc in it. I've seen programs like that, and I've seen people like that who consider it a seminal work of literature, and who are offended if you even call it fantasy. They want to rank it on the same level as Edith Wharton or Tolstoy, and it is the backbone of many, many, many college courses, and you can get degrees in it, and it's not even a middle grade book. It's a children's book. It's made up as it goes along. It has no internal structure. It's terrible. In other words, the word I'm trying to get to here, it's terrible. It's flat and one-dimensional. It's meant to entertain children. So because of the cultural phenomenon that it's become monstrously over-venerated. So it would be my choice. It will probably always be my choice for an overrated kids book. Question number 5, Madoka Magica. Don't know these at all. A book with a devastatingly sad plot twist. I'm going to pick Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz for this. Those of you who have read it will know the plot twist I'm talking about, and in terms of one of my favorite hobby horse subjects, movie book adaptations, if you saw the news that the young actor Anton Yelchin died in a weird home accident in his 20s, and if you saw the outpouring of tributes from the acting community to him, but you don't really know what that's all about, maybe because you've only ever seen him in Star Trek as the new Ensign Chekhov, and you see an energetic performance there, but nothing really to write home about, rent the movie version of Odd Thomas and watch it, and pay attention to the ending, the very last scene, in which they film the sad plot twist of the novel to perfection. And you will see a 2-minute acting performance that I know a lot of 70-year-olds who couldn't muster the emotional bravery to do, and there aren't any words in it, which is a sure sign of great acting. I nominate the book for a sad plot twist, and I cannot recommend the movie high enough, especially in the saddest possible way. Who knew? When I was watching it, I had no idea. All I thought when I was watching that scene is, I'm going to watch this kid collect Oscars like they were postage stamps. And that's not going to happen now. It's very, very... Talk about a sad plot twist. But anyway, question number 6. Baccano, a book about thieves. Now, I know, talk about quasi-medieval. I know you think I'm going to go to some fantasy book that has Dungeons and Dragons style thieves, but I'm thinking more of the real world. I'm thinking of a classic. This is, oh no, these aren't auto-focusing. How can that be? My plan has been foiled. All right, well, you can't see it, so you'll just have to listen. It's The Friends of Eddie Coyle by George V. Higgins, his 1975 book about... it's not The Friends of Eddie Coyle. Oh, sorry. That's his great novel, and you should all read it. It's a great American crime novel. But no, he did a knockoff of the title called The Friends of Richard Nixon in 1975, in which he writes about Watergate and all the cast of characters involved. And it's brilliant. And it's all about thieves. Every one of them is trying to steal something that wasn't theirs. If you're a student of history, or you're old enough to remember Watergate, but if you're a student of history and you're thinking, well, what is this? I want to read about it, but I don't want to be bored. You should find a copy of The Friends of Richard Nixon, because it's a book carved in acid hatred. There isn't a single boring sentence in it. Question number 7, Gangsta, a series that was never officially finished, but you wish was. I have a candidate in mind here. It's a science fiction series called The Journeys of McGill Fayen by Kevin O'Donnell. The adventures of a young man who is a flinger, a group of people in the civilized galaxy who have the ability to teleport a precise amount of weight, not 1 gram more, it just won't happen if they try, to teleport a precise amount of weight a certain amount of distance. And because they're rare, and because the talent allows for interplanetary shipping like nobody's business, they are sort of commercial royalty, and McGill Fayen uncovers dark maneuverings inside the Flinger Academy, and the books follow him as he gets older, because he's not just a whistleblower. He's also, there's something a little bit special about him. It's possible that he is a chosen catspaw of the far-being Retzglaren, but we're not sure. There are all sorts of forces, good and evil, lined up around him. And the books are incredibly good, just amazing, and they petered out. I wanted them to keep going. They just didn't do it. We never even remotely learned the full story of McGill Fan, and that's a shame. Question number 8, Sword Art Online, a book with a beautiful cover and a great synopsis, but disappointing. For this, I would pick almost every fantasy novel I've ever read. They all have beautiful covers, and almost all of them are incredibly disappointing. So I don't know how I would even pick. You could start with Christopher Paolini. I just saw a great video on that from on how overrated they are. It's true, they have lovely covers though. And you could go on from there. It's a common problem in the fantasy genre. Question number 9, Food Wars, a book that you were surprised you really liked. And my answer to this one is my only anime answer in this whole thing. It's an anime called Crying Freeman. I wish I could show you the picture. I'm sorry that this is washed out. I'll have to figure out what's wrong with the lighting in this room. Let me give it a try just in case. Now see, that one is doing it. All right, it's called Crying Freeman. It's a series about a young man who is kidnapped by a vicious criminal gang, and they train him to be the world's greatest assassin. But their conditioning can't quite kill his compassionate nature. So every time he kills someone, he cries just a bit. And the series is explicitly sexual, and it has a lot of gratuitous violence. I looked at it and I thought, well, it's beautifully drawn, but I don't think I'll like this. But I ended up loving it. I read it all the way to the end, a big gigantic stack of individual issues. Back when going into my comic shop and asking for it, everybody looked at me because they had no idea what I was talking about. This was before manga really broke in America, so I was specifically, okay, I want this issue, I want Crying Freeman, and then those days are gone. Now it's the big part of every comic book store. Let's see here. Question number 10, Sailor Moon, an older book with a classic girl power feel. For me, this is going to be The Deeds of Paxanarion by Elizabeth Moon. I wish I could show you the cover. It's a fantasy series about a soldier named Pax who leaves her humble beginnings. She's a sheep farmer's daughter, and eventually, through heroism and compassion, changes the whole empire in which she lives. It's amazingly done. I can't recommend it high enough. Question number 11, Log Horizon, a book that sounds similar to others but does it better. For this, I'm going to pick an Australian police procedural by Gary Disher called, unfortunately, Blood Moon. I have no idea why anybody calls books by these things anymore. You call a book Blood Moon, you have 300 competitors, and this is no different. But it's really good. It's a really taut murder mystery that just happens to have one of the world's most cliched titles. Question number 12, Black Butler, a series you liked when you were younger but now cringe at. I don't have an answer to this one. I didn't like series when I was younger. I didn't like to read when I was younger, and I wouldn't cringe anyway. I embrace all my crappy series. And there you go. That's it. That is the anime book tag. Thank you very much, Ben. I want to tag people. Of course, I want to tag BookTube's only actual anime character, Mega Man Chief Fan. But also Nash at the Book Bat. And Miranda Hayes and Sue at Sue's Book Nook. If you haven't done the anime tag, you're the prime candidate to do it. And also Jack the Bibliophile. I figure if I tag him enough, he'll eventually come back to life. There you go. Thank you, BookTube. Sorry for the length of the video. I do get talking about books.